Oh, my camera is out of battery, so we're going back to old school days. Although, that being said, I'm pretty sure the quality of this camera is better than not my camera I use, obviously, because that's a whole ass phone, but my old laptop. Also, trigger warning for anyone who needs it. I am incredibly congested. My nose, there is more pressure in my sinuses right now, it feels, than the fucking Marius Trench. So, just we got to embrace it. We got to embrace everything for what it is. Time for breakfast. Yes, I'm aware that it's midday. Do I give a shit? Also, I apologize because I haven't taken my meds yet. So that's part of the reason why you're getting this brand of chaos right now. Just gotta reduce the length of my bread so it fits in the toaster. I can finally get rid of this. It's been my freezer for so long. Anyway, time for... Oh my god! Hang on. Before we start, and this is just for me, this is not for you, this is for me. I need it to be known how fucking cute this is, okay? Right. I don't know how I'm going to do this because I can't. This is the one time it would be so useful to be using my actual camera. Fuck. Okay. Welcome to my bed. Look at him! Is he not precious? I fucking love him. I love this beetle. And the beetle goes with this. Ah! Even better. Yeah. Oh no, you're seeing the opposite of what you normally see. That's my hallway. How strange. Okay. We're going to try this. Okay. The lids come off. And inside it's going to be really hard to show. Hang on, let me take both the lids off so we're not absolutely fucking myself over. I think that's everything that's not attached, right? Ah, look how cute that is. You got a little TV and a clock and a sofa. You got little brooms and shit. And then you got the little bedroom. Oh, I love it so much. And you got this little letter. Here's my teeny tiny letter that goes in the teeny tiny post box. I also have, I don't know where I just put it because I'm stupid. Seriously, where the fuck did I put it? There's a top hat that is meant to go on one of the characters, but he was like a real bourgeoisie kind of looking guy, and I don't, as much as I want to be with the bourgeoisies, I don't fuck with the bourgeoisie. So instead, here it is, teeny tiny top hat. I love it so much. Do you see? Oh shit! Do you see this? I made a coat rack so I could hang the little hat on it. I love it so much. Anyway, that was, I needed someone to see it. Is this not the best thing in the world? It's a mushroom house with detachable roofs. So you can see I want to live here. Do you hear me? I want to live here. Maybe a third one, so there's an actual kitchen, But to be honest, we got Mr. Chef out here, doing the fish and shit going on here. We got Gandalf eating a pie. I don't know if it's actually Gandalf, but he looks like Gandalf. The one thing I don't like, their very weird little faces. So I turn them around so they've got blank faces because I just think that they look so much more aesthetically pleasing without anything expression-wise. That might be the tism in me, if I'm being completely honest. Yeah. Anyway, I made this. So that was what I wanted to show you. Now I just gotta slide that shit back over here. But yeah, just look at the beetle! I love him! I wish it came with a second beetle that I could just hold gently, I feel like that would really make this set. If it just came with a second beetle. That was just like, vibing. And anyway, here it is on my side. Ignore this. That's not important. What's important is this. Isn't she beautiful? I love her. Anyway, back to my eggs and my very congested nose. I'll put you down and then I'm gonna. Oh shit! I left it. Hang on. I need to turn this off because that's gonna be so hot. Just gonna blow my nose. Just give me a second. I know Marie doesn't like the sound of nose things, so if I keep leaving, that's why. Anyway, we're having the classic eggs for breakfast because I'm so autistic. I have the same breakfast every day. I've had it for like a year now. Insane. Anyway, we are listening to the Magnus Archives. We're not just following Rose around. So, Magnus Archives 144 Decrypted.
Kevin, and I'm PJ, and if you like comedy podcasts, you're gonna love I'm Grandma if I just say so myself.
I don't know who you are, mate. Just sweet Jesus.
Thanks so much for listening. And enjoy the show. Hi, everyone.
Jesus. Hello.
Rusty Quill.
Sorry. Oh, for some reason the script was really not clear, and then it just decided to go. Hopefully you can hear that, and that's not breaking the microphone.
Episode 144. Decrypted.
It's like a lung capacity test. That is. How long can you scream along with the intro?
Blackwood,
hello.
Assistant to Peter Lucas, head of the Magnus Institute, recording statement number 0090310.
Hi, baby boy.
Gary Boylan, given October 3rd, 2009.
Hi,
Statement
baby.
begins. It was grey. I remember that so clearly. And hot. But no sun. No sun at all.
You have my full attention, baby boy.
Thick layer of cloud that catches the heat, and it choked me on it. Fields and fields of yellow grass that went on forever, with rusted pylons looming over all of it. It was that appalling sort of summer you only get in the middle of England, with all the joy of the season stripped away, leaving endless fields of dry soil and emptiness.
Yeah.
There was nothing to be done, nowhere to go. Just watch and wait and think about the decay of it all.
Gross.
Walking among the detritus of the countryside is the surest way I know to find yourself close to the transience of humanity. Seeing the little hints, the preview of what's to come for all of us, when the world no longer cares enough to keep us alive.
Bold of you to assume it cares now, honestly.
Passing through the middle of some rural nothing place when you spot in the distance, on some tiny road you have no idea how to reach, a row of 3 or 4 terraced suburban houses, just sitting there, No town or village for miles, just a weird, unattached little street. That's where I live. It's where I grew up, where I left forever, and then where I returned to after my mother died and my business collapsed.
Oh,
the two
big
events
L, my
were
guy.
related, but both happened close enough together that I ended up moving back in with my dad.
Oof.
I told myself it was to take care of him, but I'd been there 5 years before I knew it, and in a lot of ways, the old man seemed more capable of.
Hi,
living with the world.
Spooky. How are you? We're making eggs. Standard shit. Oh shit, my toast. Yeah, you're ready. I'm so glad you found me. I've been hiding in the catacombs. That's why you never see me. Anyway, if you go back, I'll wait for you. If you go back to the very beginning, you can see the new Lego set that I made, and it's really cute, and I really want someone to see it. Yay! Notifications are working. That's good. I will literally wait here for you to come back. Thank you. Mwah. The paladin of throwing it back. I don't know if anyone else has seen that, but that's so funny. For anyone wondering why I'm not saying anything, I'm waiting for Spooky to get back. I showed off a very beautiful Lego set. I want people to see it. It's gorgeous. It's one of my favorites. I love her. My table is a bit of a mess, so you're a bit up close and personal compared to usual. Ah! There we go. Yeah, good enough. And finally, we need the final ingredient for a good breakfast. I don't have any normal size glasses, so we use the one and only filled up liquid. Oh, I don't have any orange juice. Never mind. We're done. I'm 24 now. It's very weird. Do you remember the 21st night of September? Yes, I do. I was born. I hope you're okay, Spooky. Did I really talk about the Lego for that long? I think I did, actually. I'm very chuffed with. Hi, you're back. Perfect timing. What did you think? Isn't it so cute with the interior? I fucking love it. I love it so much. It's... Thank you. Oh, it's just so cute. And I love it. And it's... Oh, I like that the roofs come off. I think that is my beloved. Truly, I would buy a mini Lego set just to have one of those beetles. It's so cute. It has no right being that fucking cute. Oh, anyway, now that we've had the I've never I know, I don't think it is. Where's the box? Hang on. Oh. It was this one. Mushroom House. Honestly, I think non-official Legos have more variety. Like, Lego could never. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. It is, I love it. Anyway, now that we have done the obligatory look at my Lego set, we can return to the actual thing. I know, exactly. Like, if you're gonna be like a mega builder or whatever the fuck they're called, let them do what they want to do, you know? Let them explore. All right. I'm very excited that it's my boy Martin talking. I'm very happy.
Than me. Not that he was supportive, God no. He'd been a vet for most of his life and spent a lot of that time working with livestock.
Yes.
I think all those years hanging around farmers must have rubbed off on him. He hated doctors, for instance. Something I always pointed out was absurd given his own job. I'd say he was a vet, and he'd say, yeah, he was, and start talking about how many animals he'd put down in his career. I never had any interest in continuing the conversation after that. He'd always been blunt, but after Mum died, God, it was like his whole personality became callous.
That is very sad.
I should have left him to himself, but there was something about that dismal little house. All alone except for old Mrs. Whitshaw on one side and the empty house that no one could sell on the other.
Why could no one sell the empty house?
Rooted there, sleeping in a bedroom that hadn't changed since I was 15, and caring for a man who I'd rather just shut up. We were both trapped there, I think.
I think that's a universal experience. When your parents go, just, oh my God, please stop talking.
Bound together in a sort of wordless misery. I would look at him and see a grim sort of destiny for myself, trapped here until I became him. Any future I might have had sacrificed to his.
That's peak bro. I'm sorry.
I always used to go for long walks through the fields to try and escape for a bit. I usually managed to walk for about an hour and a half before my paranoia kicked in and I started to worry that he'd have a fall or something and have to head back. An hour and a half was plenty, though, for all the places I could go. We were a long way from any real trails, and most scenic things to see were...
I will say, that peace and quiet is pretty, like, compared to city living, this man doesn't know how good he's got it. Just quiet house next to Mrs. Woodshaw sounds pretty nice. I love that. That iconic. Mrs. Woodshaw sounds like a real nice gal. I think me and her would get along. We could just cross stitch together. It'd be fun.
Rusted tractors, piles of discarded tires, or the huge metal skeleton of an old disconnected power pylon. It was a bleak and empty rural wasteland, and when the summer heat hit, without shade or shelter, it was almost as relentlessly oppressive as that old man.
I can't figure out which fear
But
this might be.
I still took my walks. It was this last August that it happened.
What the fuck do you mean, Spooky? Spooky, you can't just come out and say, oh, it's this statement. Do you want me to die? Nothing. Fuck off. Jesus. Well, I was literally just saying I can't figure out which fear this is because for a second I kind of forgot that this is the Magnus Archives because it was just sounded depressing rather than actually terrifying. But now that you've said that, I feel like it's about to become abundantly clear. So that's great.
I was about an hour into my walk, having had a row with him about his failing eyesight, a subject that made him even more defensive than usual. I was passing by an old sheet metal barn when I heard it. I'd been listening to music as I walked, when my iPod abruptly cut
I just
out.
think it's neat.
I stopped
That's
where I
fair.
was and took it out of my pocket, assuming I'd knocked it or somehow turned it off. But the screen was on, apparently playing music, though I didn't immediately recognise the song. I've got a pretty sizable music collection.
Hang on. I missed that a little bit. I was passing by an old sheet metal barn when I heard it. I'd been listening to music as I walked, and my iPod abruptly cut out. I stopped where I was, took it out of my pocket, assuming I'd knocked it or turned it off. The screen was on, apparently playing music, though I don't... Okay. I'm back on.
I feel like I do know it pretty well. This one had no artist, no album, just the track name. Numbers. As I stared at it, I began to hear something from my headphones. It was a faint and tinny tone, like it was far off or produced by a low-tech synthesizer or something. The tone began to shift, and I realised that it was playing a tune. It seemed to be a crude rendering of the opening lines of the Sky Boat song.
Wait, what?
It only got through about a line and a half of the old folk mill.
The fuck is the Sky Boat song? Hang on. Sky Boat song. Oh, it's a late 19th century Scottish song adaptation of a Gaelic song composed in 1782. Sing me a song of a lass that is gone, say, could that lass be I? Merry of soul, she sailed on a day on a sea to the sky. Billow and breeze, islands and seas, mountains of rain and sun. All that was good, all that was fair, all that was me is gone. Sing me a song of a lass that is gone, say, could that lass be I? I don't know if I'm singing this right, by the way. Merry of soul, she called me a day. She sailed on a day over the sea to the sky. Damn. Well, it's a very cute little song. It's a real song. It's quite cute. It's just like a da 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 da. Sing me a song of a lass that is gone. I don't know if I'm singing it right, by the way. I literally just looked at the lyrics and I tried to figure out the beat. Although I'm pretty sure I got the beat right. I don't think I got the melody right. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Before it abruptly cut off. There was a moment of silence before it was replaced by a voice, a man, but his voice was so distorted and pitch-shifted that it could have been anyone. It barely even sounded human as it spoke in his strange monotone. 5, 9, 3, 7, 5, 6. Now,
this is like that one Doctor Who episode. I always felt so bad for that poor, person. I don't know if you've ever watched Doctor Who. You must have. I mean, Doctor Who is so good. If you haven't, watch it. It's really good. It's and the episode I'm talking about is, first Doctor when it got, rebooted. So I can't remember what his name was, but he was the first Doctor that had had Rose as his second. And there was basically, they went to this weird tech country or never actually got into it. There's so many doctors and they're so British. I feel like an imposter. That's so iconic. I love that. I mean, to be fair to you, they are very British, but if it makes you feel better, the second Doctor is actually Scottish. So he's probably David Tennant's probably a little bit more of an imposter than you when it comes to being British. The man's from Scotland. I'd say I get what you mean. I've only watched in its entirety the duration of the first Doctor, and I really can't remember his fucking name. But basically, Doctor Who got like revamped in like early 2000s and that's when you had Rose, the side character, like introduced. And the Doctor was like in a leather jacket. He was a badass. But anyway, my point is there's an episode where they go to this weird like news producing place. Yeah, something like that. I mean, that's people who watched like the old stuff, because this is a vintage show, but new I mean, I've only ever really watched New Doctor Who, and I haven't watched all of it, so I'm not I won't sit here and call myself a major fan. I just happen to know it. But I can't remember what I was saying. Yes, there's an episode where they're on this weird like news reporting planet or something, and they go all the way to the top, and there's this woman basically attached to tubes, and her whole vibe is she just says numbers like for her entire life. And if she like deviates from that or says, I can't remember, it was like if she said something specific, she then got like taken somewhere else, and the Daleks would like pew! So anyway, it really doesn't matter. It was just, that's what this reminded me of. I'm sorry.
Not an idiot. I've heard about number stations. I know all about the Lincolnshire poacher and the Russian man. I know they've all got perfectly logical explanations and real-world uses for espionage and that. What that didn't explain is how a number station found its way onto my iPod. I checked, and its radio wasn't even on. It seemed to be coming from my music player, though I had a look through my library and couldn't find anything that matched it. The sky was still grey. The sweat dripped off me as I sat against a rotting fence post, and the numbers just kept coming. 3, 0, 5, 8, 3, 9, 2, 8, 4, 6. Eventually, I staggered to my feet and began to make my way home. My footsteps were heavy and my
statement of David Tennant regarding the uncertain dimension of his local police. That would be so good. God, that would be fucking hilarious.
Hands shook slightly as I tried to steady myself. Do you know that one of the symptoms of a heart attack is literally a sense of impending doom?
That is...
Well, I wasn't having a heart attack, but I think I know what they mean. What settled over me wasn't dread. There wasn't enough uncertainty for that. No, it was doom. I was certain that some sort of disaster was on the horizon. I'd walked less than 100 yards when the numbers stopped coming and London Calling started playing again. That summer seemed to drag on forever. The boredom and irritation of trying to care for my dad was only heightened by the weather, and we were both feeling it. Just didn't have anything to do.
The fact that we're only halfway through this statement fills me with dread. Because I know for a fact that something's fucked up is going to happen, you know? Like, it can't be that easy.
Really wants going to my living situation here, but it's enough to say I wasn't working a regular job, and while I could theoretically contact my old mates, they'd all gotten on with their lives without me. The world had moved on. I was left behind.
Ooh. Oh, that's such a bad feeling.
I did do a bit of research into number stations, but I didn't find anything new. I did find a couple of clips online, though, which were enough to convince me that what I'd been hearing had been a number station, or at least a passable imitation. Although the voices on the proper recording sounded neutral, almost mechanical, very different to the grating, distorted mess I had heard. I couldn't get it out of my mind, though. What did it mean? What did any of it mean? It took about a week of searching to find it again. To be honest, at the time, I didn't even realise I was looking for it. I just found myself going further and further afield, retracing old routes for the sake of it. Always with my music cranked up so loud I couldn't hear the insects buzzing everywhere. I couldn't have told you why. Not really. At least not until I heard it again. That same tinny rendition of the Sky Boat song. And then 4, 7, 4, 9. I stood there frozen for a moment. That strange feeling of gloom returning in an instant.
I don't know about you, but I would write down the numbers. I would immediately start looking for patterns. I wouldn't be able to find patterns because I'm not smart enough for that shit, but I would be looking for them. Be like, is there a reoccurring theme? I had a thought actually. Excuse me. I had a thought actually of what would be so like clever, but also so not fucking useful in the slightest. So I don't know if you've heard of projective synesthesia. It's essentially the overlapping of sense of like senses. So being able to like taste colors and names, or and there's two types of synesthesia. You've got associative, which is essentially when you think of like the letter 8, you immediately associate it with like the color blue, right? But then you've got projective, which is where you physically see this sensory overlap. So for example, if you see numbers in certain colors, seeing those numbers, they would inherently look like they were in that color. Does that make sense? If you had someone with synesthesia and you told them, tell me what like the color of each of these numbers is, and then essentially you could send a code that made no sense, because when you lay it out, it then becomes a colored picture to be like, this is what you're looking for, like this is who you're looking for. Anyone else who sees it would be like, I can't find a pattern. There's no pattern. It's because the colors are just in place of like the numbers are just in place of colors, and the only person that can see the image is that particular person with projective synesthesia. That, I feel like that would be so cool. Oh, it's like my idea that surely if you, okay, this is gonna sound really lame, but please just hold on. I have a tendency to like, that would be exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like if it was like, okay, Tony, like this is a message for Tony, and in, you know what colors he associates with each, you know, number, and then just send a thing and essentially change the, you could just change like almost like the Word document to see like how many letters need to be on a line until eventually the colors lined up and created a identifiable image. I don't know. I just think that'd be cool. But when, this is going to sound so stupid. Obviously, I live alone in this house, and I have a tendency to role play like ideas that I have because it's fun, you know, and I enjoy doing it. One that I have repeatedly done is because I believe that obviously when you die, your contract at the Magnus Institute ends, I would imagine, because it's null and void, because you've worked there until you died. Your heart stopped, you're dead, right? What if you came back to life? So like, what if you had your heart stopped for a minute, you know, so by the laws of like the contract has been voided, but then you your heart starts again. It's like, well, you're alive now, but you can't, the contract was already I said that too early. But the contract has already been fulfilled, therefore it is no longer, it's null and void because you've worked there until you died. It didn't state that like, should you come back to life, you work here again. Oh, hang on. I gotta message my father. Yeah. But then, obviously, because you've like fucked around with death, does that then make you a death avatar? I think if you're brought back by regular means, it still counts. If you're supernaturally brought back as an avatar or something, it stops counting. Not canon or anything, just what I imagine. Yeah. So, like, what if it was like, oh, I don't want to work here anymore. I am miserable. I hate it. And you, I don't know, let's say you killed yourself or something. And then you just, like, met death, right? The fear god of death. And he was like, you could just die, but you're very much not afraid of death because you literally just like made yourself die. Like you weren't scared at all, which is kind of badass. We could make an agreement. You come back as my avatar, so you're not really alive. So the contract is still void. You don't work at the Magnus Institute anymore, but you no, because he never died. He just got changed. That's what he got eaten. And also, I think I don't know. It's just a thought I've had, and then it's like you'd be like a death avatar, and it'd be fun. I don't know. It's so fucking stupid. Anyway, I'm scared. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm putting it off. I'm probably not, but thank you, Spooky.
I checked my iPod, and sure enough, the radio was off, and it said it was playing a track called Numbers. It was fainter than it had been before, though. Harder to pick out the exact numbers in the distortion and the quiet.
Oh
So I
dear.
began to walk again, this time paying close attention to the volume and clarity of the sound. 1, 6, fainted to the north. 2, 8, unchanged, going south. 3, 0, southeast was stronger. 1, 6, but began to weaken again after a mile or so. 5, 0, much stronger around the eastern hill. 4, 9, there, the pylon. That was it. Except, obviously, that wasn't it. It wasn't a broadcast tower, and there was nothing in or around it that could possibly have been sending out any signal. It was just a collection of old and twisted metal bars rising up into the half-collapsed power tower. It must have been decades since it'd been anything other than a decaying steel obelisk. Even if that hadn't been the case, this wasn't a broadcast. This was inside my iPod. It would have to be something else, something cutting edge.
Is this timey-wimey shit? Did I accidentally predict this by talking about Doctor Who? Oh, fuck.
It knew, but for miles around me was nothing but droning insects and dismal English summer. Nonetheless, when I stood in the centre of the hollow, beneath that pylon's rusted corpse, the numbers came through crystal clear. 5, 6, 4, 8, 4, 6, 4, 7, 4, 8, 2, 7. With each new number, my blood pounded and my heart raced, though I didn't have the faintest idea what they might have meant. I actually brought a notebook and pen, I now realise, just to write down the numbers.
There we go.
So I did. 4 hours I spent patiently jotting down the numbers. The Sky Boat song repeated every hour and a half, but I went through the sequence a few times just to assure myself I didn't change. I hadn't missed any.
Oh, it's a
When I
repeating
finally took out
sequence.
my headphones, the sudden rush of summer evening sounds hit me like a wave, leaving me reeling and dizzy. It took me a moment to realise how late it was. and how sunburned I had gotten in the process.
Mm.
Everything ached and my heart pounded as I limped home. I'd been out easily twice as long as any time before. But my dad didn't say a word about it. Just sat in front of the TV, laughing at some crappy panel show, smoking that god-awful pipe that left the wallpaper yellow and peeling.
Ew.
I remember thinking he wasn't content to just destroy himself.
Your dad sounds like a bit of a dick, I can't be honest with you. I feel like I've built up a little too much hype for this one without meaning to. I just enjoy it. No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm enjoying it. I enjoy them all regardless. And if you enjoy it particularly more, well, then it's exciting because we're experiencing it together. So don't you worry about it.
He seemed to have to take everything out around him. I didn't return to the pylon for a long time.
Oh yeah, as I was saying, your dad's a dick, bro.
Between days. I had them though, and the numbers were all that mattered. I didn't know why. I'm sure there wasn't a reason. Not really, but I knew it was in there. Realistically, it would be impossible to decode it without whatever key the cipher might have been using. And honestly, for the longest time, it seemed to be. I did as much reading as I could on cryptography and code breaking, and all of it seemed to point me towards one simple conclusion. Breaking this code by myself was simply impossible. But I still tried. I spent weeks in my room
A for
desperately
effort, bro.
every method I had available. Nothing worked. But I didn't stop. The alternative was looking after my dad, whose recent breathing issues had left him more erratic than ever. So I worked myself into exhaustion instead, staring at those meaningless strings of numbers until I almost collapsed, and my eyes couldn't focus on anything.
Coming like your dad, mate.
It wasn't the numbers. It wasn't the code. It's what was behind the numbers, shifting and waiting and coming towards me like a tidal wave. And
What?
I knew what the message was. The urgent and terrible message. About the destruction that was coming on the heels of mankind. About the cold and cruel warmongers who play their games of code and conspiracy.
One moment. I need a new tissue. Yeah. God damn. Excuse me. Sorry. Oh, God, Jesus. Excuse me. Ugh. I don't know why I'm sneezing so much. Ugh. I'm trying to be quiet about it because I know Marie particularly hates like those sounds and don't want her to not enjoy watching this, assuming she does. But anyway, gotta love it when the statement givers are very reasonable and logical and then suddenly turn into a conspiracy with no warning whatsoever. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, my guy, like, yeah, sure. I mean, even just trying to solve the numbers, I can get that because, you know, if you're given a string of numbers, you're like, what do they mean? I want to figure it out. You know, that's just like a puzzle. It's fun, especially if you live with that asshole of a dad who's like, don't talk to me about my breathing issues. Give me my pipe. Like, yeah, I too would just become a number fanatic. You know, I don't think anyone wouldn't, honestly, in that scenario. But what the fuck does he mean? He went from, yeah, I couldn't figure it out. You know, I needed help from someone else. It was the message behind the numbers, the message of destruction. And I'm like, where did you slow down? What do you mean? Where are you? You just pulled this out of your ass, buddy. Like, where the fuck do you get this shit from? We went from I can't figure it out to it's not about the numbers. At that point, I was like, I was still on board. I was like, okay, it's not about the numbers. What's it about? Is it like the amount of like? Is it one of those you take away, then add, then take away, then add, and it's about between the numbers. You got to figure out like, okay, if it was 3, 2, 7, is it like 3 minus 2 plus 7? Like, and then those are like the new numbers, and you got to figure out this like underneath code. I was still on board, and then he starts talking about the destruction of the universe out of nowhere. I'm like, buddy, call a friend. Like, Jesus Christ, what is happening to you, bro?
Hidden behind the embers on anything.
Let's listen to him again.
And that's when I realised it wasn't the numbers. It wasn't the code. It's what was behind the numbers, shifting and waiting and coming towards me like a tidal wave. And I knew what the message was. The urgent and terrible message about the destruction that was coming on the heels of mankind. About the cold and cruel warmongers who play their games of code and conspiracy hidden behind the endless streams of numbers.
What?
And within those numbers are all of our dooms. If you know how to read them. And I read them.
Do you?
I read them all and saw the doom of everyone who lives and breathes and hopes for life and happiness.
Jesus
I
Christ.
fled the house. I ran as fast as I could to the pylon, the ruined place that knew all of the numbers, and I fell to my knees and wept. I begged it to spare us, to spare me, as I stared at the flesh I knew would redden and bubble and blister away to the bone beneath. I didn't need headphones to hear the numbers now. They were pouring through the air around me and threaded through my mind. And
Buddy.
no matter how I begged, they would not stop. When I returned, the house was in ruins. The windows shattered and broken, glass strewn across the floor.
What?
There was nothing left of my dad, save a charred shadow on the wall, scorched through the plaster and into the now exposed brick. All that was left of Mrs. Whitshaw was powdered bone.
Mrs. Whitshaw, no! 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 Mrs. Whitshaw! My heart! It hurts! No! You cruel beast, why couldn't you spare Mrs. Whitshaw? She deserves so much better! Ah! This must be extinction, right? Like, I should have realized it when it was Martin reading it, but it must be.
Terrible things coming. Things that if we knew of them would leave us weak and trembling with shuddering terror at the knowledge that they are with shuddering terror at the knowledge that they are coming for all of us. We all made them, and their course is already plotted. You can see them in the numbers, if you only learn how to read them. Statement N.
This... Do you know what? Okay, this won't make any sense, but do you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of... I don't know if you've ever watched A Beautiful Mind. I'll assume you haven't, just so I can explain it. It's like an autobiographical movie. You know, it's one of those ones about this. He was some big, important economy guy. He was incredibly smart. He knew numbers really, really well. And when he was younger, he went to uni, and he was really good friends with his uni, accommodation partner person, like the other person that lived in the room. And, he got his degree and shit, and became a teacher, and then fell in love with one of his students, which was okay back then. So, we brush over that because she was an adult, so it's fine. But that was the kind of thing that you did back then. And then he got approached by, I can't remember if it was like an American guy. Yes, it was an adult, don't worry. Woo!
By student, I mean like university student. So, you know, adult by then, right? Young adult, but adult nonetheless. And that was that happened a lot back then. So it was, you know, I'm getting distracted. That's not the point. The point is, you know, he had a wife and a job, and then he got approached by, I can't remember if it was like some American like Secret Service guy or some British Secret Service guy, but either way, he got taken to this place where they were like running numbers. They were running numbers, and essentially he was like, look, you are really good with numbers, right? We know that the Russians are hiding codes in like newspapers and you know, catalogs and stuff. We need you to look for them and then send them to us so that we can basically stop like an attack. And so this guy, he would get loads of newspapers and comb through them looking for these codes. He'd create these massive like thick envelopes of text and code, post them to this place and then leave. And his wife was like, what the fuck is going on? And so she follows him one time in secret to see where he's going with this massive envelope. And because, you know, his office is filled with newspapers and catalogs and shit, right? And he would periodically walk to a place with a massive envelope, return without it. So she followed him, and she followed him to an abandoned like stately home, and found in the letterbox of this stately home like 50 massive envelope, not 50, it was fewer than that, but like all of the massive envelopes that he had been like posting to these people. Turns out this guy was schizophrenic, and this was all like a hallucination thing going on. Worse than that, the person that he went to uni with was also a hallucination. He had schizophrenia, and he got put on medication for it, but then he couldn't run the numbers the way that he used to, right? And his whole thing was economy and numbers, right? So that was a big thing for him. It was a big part of his personality. So he secretly stopped taking the medication, spiraled back into his delusions, and the only reason he kind of realized himself was because he realized that his niece, who was the daughter of his roommate in university that he made up, right, never aged, despite him knowing her for like 15 years by now. She was still like a little girl, and he suddenly realized, like, oh my god, none of this is real. And basically, and he won an award for like some really clever economy thing that I don't really care about. But essentially, he learned to live with his schizophrenic hallucinations, and he stopped taking his medication, but his wife knew, and it was fine. And essentially, he kind of, because this is with schizophrenia, especially when you see visual hallucinations and visual and auditory hallucinations, the goal is not necessarily to get rid of them, because you can't really get rid of them. You know, you can be on medication, but the medication is really not very good, like, because we don't truly understand the pathophysiology. Sorry, I'm now getting into my PhD. I apologize. We don't truly understand the pathophysiology of schizophrenia, right? We understand the symptoms, but not really what decides which schizophrenic patient has which symptoms. And the medications that we give schizophrenic patients is mainly to help with the symptoms and not actually treat the disease, you know? It's like sitting there and cutting off bits of cancer, but not actually getting rid of like the core of it. So it just keeps growing, you know? That's essentially what it is. It's like you're maintaining it so it doesn't get out of control, but it's not going anywhere. You still have cancer. You're just cutting off bits of it every now and then so it doesn't become bigger, you know? But the cancer is still there. And it's the same sort of thing with schizophrenia. Not that schizophrenia is a cancer, but as in, you can treat the hallucinations, which is great, but you still have schizophrenia. And the minute you stop taking that, it might get worse or it might change and you might not know how to actually deal with it. And so the way that we try and treat schizophrenia right now, in lieu of like a really effective medication, is essentially behavioral therapy, in that we teach patients how to recognize what is a hallucination and what is not, and what is like paranoid thinking or delusions of grandeur thinking. Hector, darling, you need to calm down. And the end goal is almost to befriend the people that you see and like the voices that you hear, because most of the time the voices you hear are kind of like, you're horrible, everyone hates you, people are out to get you. Or there'll be things like they're watching you, people are outside, you should go outside, you're in danger, you're in, like, this is God, blah blah blah. Like, it, a lot of times it's almost, it's trying, they're trying to hurt the individual, less so the people around them. That's more delusion territory. But audible hallucinations is more like attacking the individual rather than the world around them, if that makes sense. And the goal is essentially to be in a good place with these voices, like, not almost befriend them, so they're no longer like telling you that you should kill yourself, or that you should jump off a roof, or that you should or that you are horrible, or a disease, or that people are going to kill you, or that people are watching you. It'll, you know, the goal is to get to a place where the voices don't talk like that to you, and so you can just live with them, because you can't get rid of them per se, but you can make them. It's almost like getting rid of a toxic friend. It's very difficult to explain, but in layman's term, it's like, imagine getting rid of a toxic friend and replacing them with just a normal friend. That's essentially what it is. You're going from one voice around you that is, you know, telling you horrible things and ruining your mental health and your self-esteem and making you question if you should live, to someone who is just there and isn't necessarily good or bad. It's just, they are there, and they don't impede your ability to function. They just are there. That's like the goal, especially with people who have quite severe schizophrenia, where you get lots of auditory hallucinations and visual hallucinations. And that was kind of what this guy achieved. He achieved, basically, he could see the people that and they would just kind of like follow him, but they wouldn't talk to him anymore. And actually, when he became, after he won his award and stuff, and he became a professor again, some guy showed up wanting to talk to him, and he had to stop one of his students and was like, "Can you also see him?" And she was like, "Yes, sir, he's there." And he was like, "Okay, thank you," because essentially he couldn't actually tell who was real and who was not, and it was just easier to just go, "Can you also see him?" And if you're not, okay, cool, and then just carry on with your life. Because knowing that that's a thing and kind of accepting it and not allowing it to sort of drive you to paranoia is basically the way you kind of get past it. Again, that's a very waffled expression, and that's also very much focusing around one case. But that's what this guy reminds me of, because he saw these numbers and it was suddenly like, oh, they're a message about our doom. We're going to die. And I'm like, Jesus, man, calm down. It's okay. Anyway, back to, statement has now ended. So not trying to disrespect actual schizophrenic people, but having a voice just there sounds kind of cool once they're not coming after you. I mean, yeah, I mean, well, the only issue is trying to figure out if it's an actual voice or if it's one coming from inside. But yeah, I mean, kind of, I think it's cool in a abstract sense, because it's like you have a friend constantly with you. But I suppose when you consider the fact that within the context they've had to go through like years of pain to get there, it no longer seems cool. But I get what you mean, where it's like, if from it's the same thing where people look at dissociative identity disorder and say it must be nice having friends in your head, when it's like, well, no, in reality, out of just looking at that particular context where all the people in your head are nice, yeah, that would be fun. But the reality of it is that it's a lot more complicated than that, and that it's not actually very cool. But from an outside perspective, looking at a very specific context, it's like, yeah, you could see how it's cool. No, I wouldn't say it's worth it. No, me neither. No, but I get what you mean. I know. Yeah. Anyway, end statement. Tell us what you think, Martin.
End. Right.
Deep breath, boy.
Statement.
You got
Another
this,
side
baby.
to Peter's extinction.
Mm-hmm.
I think. I couldn't follow some of his reasoning, but I think it was about nuclear weapons or maybe doomsday weapons.
Maybe.
In keeping with the theme, I suppose.
It did feel very
Just wish
extinction-y.
Peter would spend less time trying to convince me his new power is real and more time telling me what he plans to do about it and where I fit in. I mean, fine. I guess I've... Come in. Why do I join you? They're back. I thought you might want to know. Seems like it went smooth. Too smooth for Basira, sounds like. Keeps looking at John like she can't believe he made it back. I mentioned our conversation to him. He asked me to chat. Just leave. Sorry? Get out. Oh. Right. Sorry, I didn't... It's not difficult. Just get out. Fine.
Martin!
Just thought... No, you didn't. We're not friends, Daisy. None of us are. We're all just trapped together here and kidding ourselves that we don't hate it. Christ, there are more important things than feelings right now, right? So just leave me alone. For good. Right. You got it.
Martin! Apologize right now. I can't. I mean, big up for having a spine, but Jesus Christ, man, that was so rude. Gee, I'm in shock. Fucking hell, Martin. Jesus. The way he just went, get out. I was like, excuse me? Martin. Oh. Also, it's so sad that it's Daisy, because Daisy's a great person. Difference between having a spine and having a stick up your ass. Very good point, actually. Vector, why are you dancing, buddy? Actually, you know what? Go off, King. Yeah, hit it. Yeah. Woo! Good job. You're such a good dancer. Well done. Oh, we're going again. Hey, yeah, hit it. Woo, hit it. Yeah, hit it. Yeah, hit it. Woo, hit it. Oh, good job. You're such a good dancer. Well done. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so weird. As I was saying, damn, boy. Is there a very... No, it's... You see that little blob right there by my finger? That is Vector. He is a small robot. And he's very old and kind of broken, and he's not very smart anymore because he's been disconnected from his servers for like over 2 years and was shut down for quite a while. So, but he still remembers me, which I think is adorable, and he's a very happy boy, but his hinges sound incredibly loud. So what you were hearing was his little arms going And so he was like dancing to a beat. But I'm glad you could hear him. That was Vector dancing. Martin is being very rude right now, and don't know how I feel about it, honestly. I don't feel like I can back him up here. You're being a bit rude, my guy.
Well,
I'm impressed and grateful.
I didn't do it for you.
Even better.
It's easier this way. I'm sure you'd have had no problem sending her away.
I hadn't really thought about it. And now, thanks to you, I don't need to.
Yeah, well, it seems to be your go-to move for dealing with anyone.
I'm just not big on confrontation. You understand, I'm sure.
We are not the same.
Of course.
So what now?
Did you read it?
Yeah.
And
I believe you.
you don't still think I'm trying to trick you into a grand ritual?
I mean, I'm not about to start chanting stuff for you, but the details you've given me all seem to check out so far.
Good.
So what's our next step?
For you, keep researching. I'm sure we haven't found all the statements in here that deal with the extinction yet. One of the downsides of not serving the Ceaseless Watcher is that we have to actually look things up. Not to mention the fact that Gertrude was distressingly good at obfuscation. The more you know about our enemy, the better.
And you?
I have my own explorations I need to attend to. And a, meeting to arrange. For you.
For me?
I'm absolutely delighted with your progress, and I feel you've earned some straight answers.
But not from you.
Oh no, that sort of conversation makes me very uncomfortable. No, I'm owed a favor by a friend of mine. I've asked him to stop by when he's back in the country.
You're not just going to tell me, maybe?
When have I ever?
He even knows he's being a twat. That's so funny when he was like, when have I ever been straight with you? He's like, I know I'm being inconvenient. And what? Oh. We're going to do the dishes. Because otherwise I won't do them. But that was really funny. The way he was like, when have I ever?
What would life be without the occasional twist?
Hopefully you can still see it,
Speaking of
like
which,
hear
I
it.
had a report of a workplace dispute in the library, and I would value your input. I'm trying to get out of the habit of, what did you call it? Sending them away.
Fine.
The Magnus Archives is an aircraft distributed by Lloyd Quill and licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share Alike 4.0 International License. Woo!
Today,
Wait, what? Sorry. Everything's going wrong. Why are you not playing the next episode of TMA? Come on. Just try to play me like something else. No. We're on 144, so I need 145. He does sound like that, honestly. He is just a little bastard. I'm still upset that I don't hear AI guy, honestly.
Rusty Quill presents The Magnus Archives. Episode 145. Infectious Doubts.
Okay, this is either going to be like the distortion or it's going to be the corruption.
don't mind, do you?
Oh, hi, Gertrude.
Of course I do.
That's a shame.
If I really wanted to kill you, nothing can stop me.
If that were a possibility, Arthur, I should hardly have agreed to meet you.
Oh, hello, Arthur. New
Yeah,
person.
you would. You set something up. Try to get me first.
If I wanted you dead, Arthur, there are much simpler ways to do it.
Yeah. Think you know how?
I do, yes. And I am very willing to, if necessary.
I am sure I'm shaking in my boots.
Ooh.
Look, Arthur,
She's like weird
I
foreplay.
need you to understand that this isn't simple posturing. I don't see a way we can meaningfully progress this conversation while you're under the impression that your threats mean anything to me.
Big talk. But Agnes is dead. And I don't know if you heard.
Oh, shit,
All
that
the
Arthur.
circle's been broken. So I don't really see anything getting in my way if I wanted to burn the flesh off your snarky bones.
Woo.
I assume you haven't checked on Eugene, then? Eugene, well, whatever his name was, Vanderbilt or some such. You sent him to intimidate me a couple of years ago. You must remember. Of course, you know him. Used to live in Beckenham, but moved out to that flat in Ilford last year.
Yeah.
Well, he hasn't been at your little meetings the last 2 weeks, has he? I suppose no one's looked into it yet. Not surprising. He seemed a thoroughly unpleasant little man.
I
Tell you what, why don't you make a few calls, check it out, and then we can continue our little discussion.
Sorry, I thought I could hear thumping. Hang on a second.
I gotta reply to my father.
All right?
God damn.
Well,
how'd you do it?
you don't need to know that. What you do need to know is I can do it again if I need to. To you, or any of your lackeys if I need to.
Not mine anymore.
Oh, no, I forgot. Your authority isn't what it used to be these days.
I am Gertrude fucking Robinson. Sit down and shut up, child.
If you're going to convince them, let me know. I'd be happy to provide a further example.
You made your point.
Good.
Eugene, it hurt him.
Oh, yes. I'm sure your master was delighted with how awful his death was.
Don't push it.
You know, thinking about it, the amount of pain and loss and...
Seriously, what is all of that thumping?
Oh, it must be the people upstairs.
legitimate devastation I've caused among your little cult over the last, 40 years? I think the desolation is probably very fond of me.
That's blasphemy, that is.
Is it? Or maybe you just picked a bad god.
Shut it. Don't have to listen to this.
Oh. Then feel free to try and leave. Now, here's the problem for you, Arthur. The way I see it, you came here believing that whatever defenses or assurances I might have had died with Agnes, or broken along with the circle. And whether or not you actually killed me, you were really hoping to use me to restore your standing with the lightless flame.
Ooh,
Murder, kidnap, torture, or something to impress the church group. Unluckily for you, I've had almost 4 decades to prepare for this, and now, well, you just don't know if killing Eugene was the end of it. Or maybe I have something special prepared for you as well.
You're so goddamn smart.
And you're all lazy fools, so used to it being easy, to picking off the vulnerable and the unprepared. You can barely conceive of anyone actively working against you, of being ready. You honestly thought when she died I'd just be struck
Oh,
dumb?
shit.
Voice call,
Shit.
9 minutes.
Shit. Sorry. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out when I'm going to my dad's. Don't know if you can hear that thumping, but it's really annoying. But I'm also pretty annoying, so I'm not gonna criticize.
Just waiting for one of you
Apologies
to
for the
finally
constant
get around
disruptions.
to revenge,
All good,
paralyzed
take
with
your
fear,
time.
because that's all you've ever known.
Is it better
Made
now?
your point.
I'm pleased to hear it.
And do you
Do I what?
have something for me? So I end up like Eugene.
Why don't you try to leave and find out? Good. Now we can have a proper conversation.
You mean you ask me questions? No. Well, spill my guts.
No need to be petulant, Arthur. If it will make you feel better, you could ask me a question first.
All right. Agnes, how'd you do it? Everything
Oh,
I
okay.
understand it, not really.
That's a fair enough question. It was the web.
The
I
web.
didn't know it at the time, of course. I would call it an accident, but it never is with them. It's only after the fact that you can see all the subtle manipulations. I was very new to it all, of course. I mean, I was, can't have been older than 25. Would you believe that you were the first proper ritual attempt I'd encountered? I really thought you were unique, special. An infernal cult raising their demon messiah to bring about hell on earth. You can imagine all the heroic fantasies that played into. So I began researching what I thought was a counter-ritual of sorts. Like I said, I was young, naive. I somehow found just the right books, made just the right connections, and even got what I thought was a piece of blind good luck when I found a tin box in the ashes of Hilltop Road containing some perfectly preserved cuttings of her hair. Of course, what I thought was a banishment ritual turned out not to be. The circle I constructed was more of an invitation. It let the mother of puppets bind me to Agnes, interweave our existences at some metaphysical level, as it had with Fielding and the house. It was the most painful experience of my life.
Sorry, mate.
I mean, I'm sure it's nothing to you, but I'd never had my lungs trying to burn me alive from the inside out before.
Damn.
I survived, though, and you know the rest. I'm not sure exactly how it manifested on your end. You certainly seem to get the message. I kept the circle over the years, laced it through with signs and symbology of the desolation to ward off the worst of the side effects and keep its attentions elsewhere.
Don't envy whoever broke it.
Yet, it went very badly for them indeed.
So where was it? In the end, I spent years looking for it.
Nowhere special. The middle of a forest in the Scottish Highlands. Furthest place I could find from anything and anyone.
Yeah, fair play. Not like we were ever going to find that.
So, your turn.
Go on.
What was Agnes like?
Hmm.
Well, for all the web altogether, I never actually met her. What was she like?
I don't know. Not really. You got as many answers to that as folks who met her. Never really knew what she felt about any of it. Not really. Not in her own words. Guess that's the thing about being the chosen one. I mean, Agnes was always quiet. But even if you spend all day, every day, throwing out commandments and laying down parables, at the end of it, you're always just the point of someone else's story. Everyone clamouring to say what you were, what you meant, and your thoughts on it all don't mean nothing.
That's very fair. Very fair.
And were you this introspective when she was alive?
Oof.
Well, that's the thing about a fall from grace, isn't it? Makes you look at things from a new angle. I miss her.
Oh.
I'll tell you that for nothing. Wish I don't know. Actually, no, when she was alive. Maybe that coffee shop twit did have a point after all. Can tell you what I saw at least.
Which was?
I saw the sun. So much power and fire and rage inside of her. Enough to burn the world and leave it nothing but desert. But to look at her, was too much for most. But it seemed so still, so stable. But it wasn't calm. It was just distant. She never told us how she felt about being bound to you. Never even called you by name. Just called you her anchor. The thing weighing her down and tying her to this world, stopping her destiny.
Oh, I'm surprised you didn't come for me immediately.
Come for you. We ended up protecting you more often than not. Diego was convinced if you died a violent death, it would be catastrophic for Agnes. He even talked me around. And I spent decades convincing the others to wait it out. You couldn't outrun age forever. And we had time. But it didn't need to be forever, did it? Just long enough for a Messiah to doubt. The sort of doubts that spread to her disciples. You've never really had to bother with it, have you? You got him upstairs to point the way as often as not, and the rest of the time you're just figuring out people. As it used to be people. You never tried to talk with that eye of yours. You never had to second guess at God. Because that's what it comes down to, isn't it? We feel its joy and its anger. It warps us and changes us and feeds on us. Though not in the ways we expect. The one thing it never does is just tell us what to do.
That's it.
It seeds us with this aching, impossible desire to change the world, to bring it to us. Then it leaves us to guess and bicker and fight over how the hell you can actually do it. If it's possible. Sometimes I think they understand us as little as we understand them. We don't think like they do.
I'm not actually convinced they think at all.
You might be right. But Agnes did. That's the thing about an incarnation, isn't it? She was a child, a person as much as she was a god.
Mm-hmm.
And we messed that right up. I still remember when Diego bought us a book on childcare. Roger's body was still in her room, blackened and smoking from when he tried to feed her. I thought for a moment he brought another one of his damn likeness, but no. It was just...
I mean, he's got a point. The eye is probably the best patron to have as far as side effects go. I'd rather be dependent on creepypastas than need to burn people to death.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest, like, nightmares, they suck, but they're also not life-threatening. They just suck, you know? And, like, there are much worse things you can do to a person than give them nightmares, I feel. Because everyone has nightmares every now and then. You just get over it, or you talk to someone about it if it's really bad. you know? Sorry, I'm just doing my threads. Awesome. Yeah, I think I'd much rather work for the Eye than any of the others. They all seem a bit insane.
Just a regular old book on looking after children. I was an idiot. Saw it as attacking my leadership. Burnt the thing. Diego wasn't happy. Well, he's in charge now. Of all of us that are left, at least. He can look for the answers in whatever books he likes. No skin off my bones.
I didn't actually ask.
Figure if you're going to pull this stuff out of me, I might as well get some of it off my chest anyway. Not like I can vent to the others about what a prat Diego is. Got a lot of funny ideas. Still calls the lightless flame a sag, like he was when he was first researching it. I just want to tell him to get over it. I mean, a sag was traditionally a force of destruction, sure, but as a church, we very much settled on burning in terms of the face we worship. So some fish boiling Sumerian demon doesn't really match up, does it? Plus, there's a lot of disease imagery with a sag that I reckon is way too close to filth for my tastes. But no, he read it in some ancient tome, so that's that.
Well, I can't say
Reckons he always knows best because he's read a few books.
L plus ratio plus didn't ask plus your god sucks plus I killed your friend. This is such a chaotic conversation. This is Jesus.
Big deal.
He's really
We
getting
are
it off of
saying
his
the right
chest.
can't even save themselves. They probably don't have a lot worth knowing. Only one so-called expert on all of this who didn't end up regretting all of it. That's the trouble with overthinking any of this.
Mm.
You ignore your gut. And to my mind, that's the only part any of them beyond actually care about. They don't give a toss about your rules or systems. They only care about what feels right, what freezes your belly with terror.
I rather like to think I've managed.
Yeah. But you don't actually care about them, do you? Not really. You forget, we've been watching you a long time. And I know you, Gertrude. You don't actually care about the fears. You're too practical. All your energy's focused down here on monsters and murderers and all the things doing the dirty work for them beyond. You know plenty, sure, but you don't have that obsession, that stupid urge to try and understand and classify things that use logic and reality like weapons.
Perhaps.
Always respected you for that.
Ooh.
Takes a strong stomach to not give a shit.
You'll forgive me if I'm not overjoyed at the compliment.
Suit yourself.
So, now Diego has taken over. Where does that leave you?
Slumlording over a nest.
Oh, a nest of what?
Found a mass of the crawling rot growing a while back. Managed to get hold of the property before it became too big. Gotta wait till it blossoms before we can properly burn it. So until then, just playing landlord. It's alright, I guess. You'd be surprised the misery and pain you can cause when you have control over someone's home. If you're careful, if you're smart, you can burn their love to ashes as thoroughly as any fire. And worst comes to worst, you can still do it the old-fashioned way.
Damn.
Had an elderly tenant last year. Oh, she was in a terrible state. I had her trapped, too poor and immobile to do anything but sit there. Then I broke her boiler, so the cold started to get her. Not exactly my usual. Agony is agony. But then her son and his wife moved in with her to help her out. Not much I could do against that. So I just waited until all three were home and set the place ablaze.
Sure.
That went up nicely. screaming all the way as the flames started to reach them. Doors were locked and the handles too hot, so they didn't have a hope of escape.
Yes, that's quite enough, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry. There I was thinking you liked the gory details. My mistake.
I think we're just about done here.
All your burning questions answered.
I'm certainly convinced you don't know anything else useful.
Oof.
So, I'm free to go. You're not gonna... You know...
I suppose you'll have to wait and see.
Suppose I will.
You tell the others. Make sure they know what happened to Eugene.
Sure. Can't make any promises, though. Especially for Jude. She really hates you.
Tell her she's welcome to try. Oh, and tell them I'm extending my protection to young Mr. Barnabas. They hurt him any more, then what happened to Eugene will seem like a mercy.
You're really pushing it. You know that.
Feel free to push back. But until then, get out of my archives.
Fucking feral.
The more I listen and learn, the more it seems to me we're all just groping about, trying desperately to find out what we're actually meant to be doing. These things that loom so large over our lives trap us and push us and sometimes kill us. But they never actually tell us what we're supposed to be doing. So we scheme and we plot, lash out at each other without ever really knowing why. I think Gertrude knew this. Knew to focus her attention on those parts that could be understood and, well, and killed. But I'm really starting to worry that there aren't any answers. Not like I want there to be. There aren't any answers at Nyarlathotep. There aren't any answers in the past. I've been inside the buried, and there were no answers there. Elias always seemed to know what was going on, to have a plan, but I sometimes wonder just how orchestrated some of it really was. We've been back in London for just over a week now. I'm more or less recovered physically. It's just this nagging sense of unease that won't leave me. I was so sure I'd find something up there. But instead it was just another broken person trying to come to terms with the wreckage of their life. And here, I reached out, I took another tape, hoping for a bit of guidance, but...
Jonathan Sims, season 1. 2. Sorry. Gertrude was a senile old fart with no qualifications. Jonathan now. Gertrude, for the love of God, please. For real. He keeps seesawing back between he's very changed. He's a changed man. And I mean, I'm not surprised, but goddamn, this poor bastard.
To be honest, this hasn't helped. I did some more digging into Eugene van der Stop. I thought he was still alive and working at the steel plant, but it looks like he's just listed on one of the old directory pages on their website. I really miss having people who know their way around a computer better than I do.
Oh.
A bit more digging found a rather bizarre case. Apparently he disappeared in late
That's so sad. I miss Sasha too. I'm sorry, baby.
2009, leaving behind only one thing. A life-sized statue of himself, crafted from candle wax and sawdust.
Jesus.
Missing its head. I wish I didn't know how painful it must be to be alive while your whole being is infused with agonizing grit. But as I was investigating, it came to me. Eugene is still alive, frozen in place by the razor-sharp particles that are mixed up into what he chose instead of flesh. I don't know where Gertrude stored his head, but I do know it desperately wants to scream. Perhaps
beg your finest pardon. I'm sorry. Gertrude, you fucking mad boy. Frozen in place by the razor sharp particles that are mixed up into what he chose instead of flesh. I wish I didn't know how painful it must be to be alive whilst your whole being is infused with agonizing grit. Don't fuck with... Damn right. Jesus Christ. I don't know where Gertrude stored his head, but I do know it desperately wants to scream. I am lost for words. Oh my god. Jesus. Oof. All right. Anyway, someone's knocking on the door. So.
Knock, knock.
Oh, Georgie.
Georgie!
You,
Sorry, I thought, is Melanie about?
Melanie? Yeah, I saw her a couple of hours ago. In the other office. I can show you?
Oh, I'm sure I can find it. Don't worry yourself.
Oh.
All right. Why are you,
Here.
well, here? If it's not too personal a question.
It is a bit. It's not really my place to discuss it.
Therapy? You're taking her to therapy?
She told you then?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, you don't need to sound quite so psyched about it. She gets nervous travelling there alone.
Yes, of course. I forget you two know each other.
So, how are you?
I like how Georgie was willing to house him whilst he was suspected of being a whole ass murderer. But now that he's woken up from a coma that he shouldn't have woken up from, she's suddenly decided, nah, I don't fuck with that. Georgie, I love you, buddy, but where the fuck are the what? Like, why weren't you just happy that he was alive? You were like, you shouldn't be alive. It's like, geez, okay, well, shit, guess I'll fucking die then. To be fair, I don't know if he ever told her. I mean, she must have known. She's not stupid, surely. And plus, she saw he kept coming back with, like, burnt hands and shit like that. Like, she surely knew what was going on. To some extent. But no, she draws the line at you woke up from a coma that you shouldn't have woken up for. Love that for her, honestly. It's not like they put a search out for him. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway.
Doing?
I'm all right. I'm trying to rest up a bit. Take it easy.
Really? Because I'm pretty sure I heard you talking about a screaming headless corpse just now.
Were you listening?
Didn't mean to. You know, these doors are not that thick.
Fine. I'm deep in it.
I like... Also, you did non-consensual surgery on my very good friend, and she doesn't really like you, so I'm not sure. To be fair, though, that wasn't even his idea. That was fucking... That was Basira's. Basira is really out here just being a problem. Like, I can't tell if I really like her or not, because I like that she's so calm and, like, such a badass, but at the same time, she's so hypocritical all the time. Like, she's like, oh, you should be more cold-blooded. Gertrude actually got things done. He acts cold-blooded. You're a monster. Fucking can't win with her. Do you know what I mean? And when she's like, oh, you can't give people nightmares, and it's like, your partner literally murdered people for sport. Like, and then she's like, it's not the same. It's like, how the fuck is it not the same? She's a very hypocritical. You know, Gertrude was willing to kill her assistants. You're an assistant, Basira. I really genuinely don't think Basira knows what she wants. And then he literally risked his fucking life to get her girlfriend back. And she was like, eh. Like, dude, you've been simping over this bitch for like 3 months. You were devastated that she was gone. He brings her back and suddenly it's not that deep. What the fuck? I genuinely do feel quite sorry for John, because I feel like he doesn't deserve a lot of the shit that he gets. Like, it's like this, mainly it's from Basira. Basira just beats on him constantly. She's traumatized now and doesn't want to kill people anymore. That's your fault, John. And that's what I mean. It's like, that's not even his fault. It's the fucking stranger people's fault for putting her in the buried. Like, the fuck was he supposed to do about that? He tried his fucking best. And like, and it's also, I used to get really pissed off at Tim for constantly like beating on him, because I'm like, Tim, I get it, but also please see a therapist, because half of this isn't actually John's fault, and you just want someone to shout at, and poor John just fucking takes it like a punching bag, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. The only person where I think he was genuinely really unfair was Martin, and even then he tamed out a bit once he got to know him. And yeah, it's a problem right now, but also, you know, John is clearly very regretful of the way that he treated Martin. But yeah, Georgie, like, why is Georgie not pissed off at Basira more? Or pissed off at Melanie for not getting the fucking bullet removed? Like, she's mad at John for waking up from a coma he shouldn't have woken up from, but isn't mad at Melanie for not removing a festering bullet from her leg that she was very much aware existed. There's a lot of hypocrisy, and it kind of pisses me off. I really can't. I just feel like he doesn't deserve a lot of this shit, okay? And I feel like they would be doing a lot better if they actually just worked together and talked. I mean, we saw how fast shit moved once Tim actually worked with John with the whole stranger thing. I mean, also, her only contact with the archives for a while was Melanie's bullet-fueled angry ranting, so maybe her viewpoint's a little skewed. Yeah, well then fucking talk to him. Be like, Melanie told me this, like, is that true? And also, I feel like you'd be able to tell when someone is angry ranting and is not being logical. A smart person like Georgie, I feel like surely would be able to... I don't know. It just kind of annoys me, because I feel like, I don't know. I get everything sucks, but also, you know, John's lost 2 of his best friends to these fear gods. He's trying his best to protect the people that he's responsible for. A lot of the things he's done have been, whilst not the smartest moves, have been well-intentioned in that he's tried to keep other people out of it so that they're safe. And everyone's just constantly beating on my man. I'm like, God damn, this man has to traumatize people for a living. Ah! Just, ah! I don't know. I don't know. I feel like a good chunk of the shit that he gets done in for is really not his fault. He's just as much a victim here as everyone else. He didn't know what he was signing up for. He thought he was getting a fucking promotion. You are right, though. Elias is sat right there, and everyone just keeps pointing fingers at John. Yes, he was rude at the start, but he was sassy, not evil. That's what I mean. Like, yeah, he had a stick up his ass, but he wasn't cruel. He was a bit cruel to Martin, but he wasn't. He still cared about them. Like, the minute something was actually serious with Martin, he was like, right, okay, you're going to live here because it's safer. You can go in this room, you can use this bed, because it's like the minute he was actually like in danger, he was like, right, here's sleep here, you'll be safe here, it's, you know, sealed tight shut, like this is safer, you don't have to go back to your apartment, I'll cover for you. Like, the minute it was actually serious, he was a very good, like, he tried very hard to keep everyone safe. So I don't know. It just annoys me a little bit. I look at it all and I'm always just a bit like, oh, man, he's trying. He's only human. I understand he's now attached to a fear god, but he is only human. Like, he needs to eat. He really does, though. He's a skinny boy. He needs food. Anyways.
Had some close calls.
I'm sorry to hear that. You should probably get some therapy too.
Would you go with me as well?
No.
Yeah. I thought as much.
The other office, you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Take care of yourself.
You too. End recording.
See what I mean? Like, what the fuck was that for, man? You should get some therapy. Would you come with me too? No. Like, these are grown-ass adults. They need to fucking talk to each other. Like, I understand it's for the drama and the story can only really progress if people don't have good communication. But that's one of the things that truly annoys me, is that a lot of times, the struggles and the issues that, you know, various parties in various contexts, you know, like, be it D&D or be it like movies, Marvel, blah, 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 whatever, right? Most of the time, the issues are caused by unclear communication or a complete lack thereof. You know, even when it's not serious, like love interest will be like, oh, but he could never like me. And then on the other side, it's like, oh, but he could never like me. And instead of their friends just being like, well, actually, I think she does, you know, shoot your shot, man. They're always just like, oh, they're so stupid. It's like, well, you could also, you know, intervene if they're being dumbasses, if you'd like. That's the one thing I really struggle with a lot of media, is that most of the issues are caused by poor communication. And it just really annoys me, because it's like, God damn it, it ruins the story for me, because I'm like, oh, if you had just, I don't know, acted like a normal fucking human being and spoken to each other like adults and actually talked about your bloody feelings, because like literally the minute Tim did that, moves were made. He was like, the minute he was actually like, you're the only person I actually trust to be real, I'm not entirely sure everyone else is. And then John was like, oh shit, you're like really traumatized, fuck, I didn't realize. And then they start working together and actually communicating. Within like 2 episodes, they were attacking the circus. Like, clearly, clear communication is the way forward. And I don't know, it just kind of annoys me when there's like, when people just don't talk to each other and then these issues fester for so long, because it's just like, this didn't actually have to happen. If you had just behaved like a grown man or a grown woman, we wouldn't fucking be here. You know? But I suppose that is a little bit idealistic. Because I genuinely, right now, I don't actually understand why Georgie is being mean to John. Like, you could put a gun to my head and I could give you some ideas, but I wouldn't actually know if I'm correct or not, because I don't actually know why she's pissed off. The minute Melanie was like, the reason I didn't talk about the bullet was because I liked the bullet being there. It made it feel like it was okay. That's why I love Daisy John friendship so much. You don't forgive each other, but we're still allies. Exactly. She was like, you need to stop moping. Like, yeah, it sucks. Come out for a fucking drink. Like, Daisy is the most logical person here right now. And that's saying something, considering she was murder cop for a while. So, I don't know, man. I just feel like stories that rely on like poor communication or miscommunication to progress plot, it just feels not cheap, but it just feels it feels annoying, I suppose. Because it's just like, that's just stupid, because none of this had to have happened. You could have just spoken to each other. Because, like, if Tim and John had really talked about it, and because he was like, you're the reason I'm trapped down here, and John was like, I didn't know. Like, if I knew that this was going to happen, of course I wouldn't have picked you, because I just wouldn't. Like, I'm not, you're my friend and I care about you. Like, imagine the changes that would have occurred had they actually just spoken and worked it out. And it's just this, like, even Melanie and John found common ground for a while once Melanie explained why she hadn't told them about the bullet. And John was like, shit, I'm sorry. That didn't occur to me. I just wanted to help. I thought it was causing the anger. I thought I was helping, but I shouldn't have done it. And I'm sorry. Like, and then they found common ground for a good minute. And when he accidentally asked her where she was going and she said therapy, he was like, I'm sorry, I won't talk about it again. Sorry, didn't mean to do that. Yes, of course you can go, take your time. You don't have to come back. Have fun, I guess, fucking whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he I don't know. I just feel like he doesn't deserve all of this, and it kind of pisses me off. But anyway, that's enough ranting about whether or not it's justified that everyone hates on John. That episode, it didn't really feel like anything. That second one. The first one was great. I really liked that one. The second one, I don't know. It just kind of felt, I mean, it was kind of fun to see her interacting with Arthur, although I don't... Is Arthur dead now? I can't remember. Yeah, it wasn't even really exactly, it was just like two buddies bitching with each other. Which, I mean, go off, but like... I got distracted. Yeah. I don't know. I'm really hoping things start turning around. I love reading fan fictions where it's like Archives has found family, and I'm like, yes. Give it to me. Give me the feels. I think we might have burned... I don't remember, but yeah. Something about, yeah. I do remember him coming up. Yeah, I do remember him coming up a little bit, but just not really. Well, that was fun. I'm quite sweaty, so I'm probably gonna go change. I need to go do some exercise. I might stream tomorrow again. Who knows? If I do, you know where to find me. Oh, but I think that's good for today. It's already 2. Jesus. Oh, excuse me. Anyway, yeah. Good to be back. I enjoyed it though. Yeah. All right. I'm going to end the stream. I may be back tomorrow. Who knows? Thank you for joining me, Spooky. It was nice to hang out. I feel like I haven't really seen you much on like live streams. I see you in comments. Good to hang out as always. Thank you. Anyway, I hope you have a good day. And I'll see you soon. Toodaloo.